now. I'm watching y'all. I know that.
If the lights are off.
No, now.
So, yeah. So this isn't exactly poetry. I kind of dabble in a lot of things. I could have done one on opera, poetry, and all that kind of stuff in high school, but in Chinese stuff. But I kind of want to do something different. So this is a movie. I first saw this movie when I was like 9 or 10. My dad showed it to me, which made my mom really mad. But yeah, it's I kind of grew up with this movie. But yeah. Alright, so kind of funny. The writer's name is Dan O'Brien. He wanted to call the thing as a joke, truck drivers in space. You'll probably see that. So, alien influence in pop culture. So this movie is very, very influential. It has been in so many like pop culture things. Like these are just a few of them that it's appeared in and referenced in. You might recognize some of them. But yeah, it's been very influential. But I'm going to be talking about why it's been so influential, kind of like what it like meant in the film industry. So it actually broke box office records when it came out. And that was before Star Wars came out. So after Star Wars, it was just completely just like, but yeah. This one it broke box office records. Tons of people wanted to see it. It was like a really huge thing. So what exactly is Alien? Like how many of y'all have seen Alien before? Like what, 2? Only 2? 3? Whoa, it's super fun. Okay, so for like everyone else, I'm going to show you all this so you're not completely lost, otherwise it might make no sense at all.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of Movie Spoiler Alerts. Today we're talking about the 1979 sci-fi horror film, Alien. So let's get started. The film opens with a commercial spacecraft called Nostromo returning to Earth with its 7-member crew still in stasis. The crew consists of Captain Dallas, Executive Officer Kane, Navigator Lambert, Science Officer Ash, Warrant Officer Ripley, and 2 engineers, Parker and Brett. A mysterious transmission is detected by the ship's computer, thought to be a distress call, and the crew is awakened. Following company policy, the ship lands on the planetoid that the distress call came from and sustains damage. The crew begins to work on the ship and discovers that the signal is coming from an alien spacecraft. They find the remains of an alien with it.
Also, y'all, forgot to tell y'all, while you're watching this, really look out for like when you see the alien and like the sets, like really just watch for those. It's important later.
Its ribcage exploded from the inside. Back on Nostromo, Warrant Officer Ripley determines that the transmission was not a distress call, but a warning, and tries to warn the others, but is unsuccessful. On the alien ship, Kane discovers a chamber containing hundreds of eggs. While inspecting one, a creature springs out and attaches itself to his face. Kane is brought back to the ship for medical treatment. The crew unsuccessfully attempts to remove the creature, aka a facehugger, discovering its blood is acid. It eventually detaches on its own and is found later dead. With the ship repaired, the crew leaves. Kane awakens with some memory loss, but in general is okay. However, later he begins to choke and convulse, and a small alien bursts from his chest, killing him and escaping into the depths of the ship. The crew cannot use conventional weapons to hunt this creature, however, as its blood could damage the hull. They must use some lesser lethal weapons. Brett discovers that the alien is now fully grown and is attacked. The group decides to try to jettison the creature into outer space. Ripley finds out from the ship's computer that Ash was actually assigned to the crew to capture the alien, and their company views the crew's lives as expendable. A fight breaks out. Ash's head is removed, revealing that he is actually an android. Parker interrogates the reanimated head of Ash, learning Ash's role was to capture the creature and bring it back for analysis, regardless of whether the crew survives or not. Parker decides to destroy Ash. The surviving 3 crew members decide to set the ship for self-destruct and try to escape on the shuttle. 2 of them are killed by the alien, leaving only Ripley. Ripley initiates the self-destruct sequence and tries to flee the shuttle with the ship's cat, Jones, but is blocked by the alien. She runs back and forth a bit, but eventually is able to board the shuttle right after the ship explodes. Ripley discovers that the alien is on board the shuttle, puts her space and opens the airlock, forcing the alien and her into outer space. She is able to fire a grappling hook, but this also helps the alien try to get back to the ship. Ripley fires the ship's engines, blasting the alien eventually into outer space. Ripley and the cat enter into stasis and travel back to Earth. So that was the split.
How many of y'all have seen Spider-Man Homecoming? Wait, what? How many of y'all have seen Spider-Man Homecoming? No, wait. It wasn't Homecoming. It was Infinity War. Yeah. Okay. So remember the scene where they're on the Iron Man and Spider-Man on the alien spaceship, and then Spider-Man comes with this idea. Do you remember that? And then they like sucked it. So that was actually referencing this movie. Anyway, so yeah, that's basically what the movie is. Okay. So this movie was like way before its time because it was before Star Wars, it was even before CGI. So everything you see in the movie is handmade, like actual things. Also, I kind of disagree with the idea that engineering is a part of art because for this movie they had to use like all kinds of engineering to make the art, or else it wouldn't have functioned the way it did. So, I mean, it's related-ish, not maybe. It's one of those ish things. So back before this movie, almost nobody really liked sci-fi movies because they were all B movies. Like they weren't very good quality. They're kind of cheesy. The costumes were just funny looking. But this movie, it changed all that. It's just like the turning point for sci-fi movies. And there's many reasons for why that is. But for one, it's the handmade costumes and mechanics. They spent so much time on it, like literally years. Also, they really focus on the camera angles of the movie. In fact, you see the picture over here. It's actually storyboards. The director, he drew every single camera angle in the entire movie, and like that is like nobody does that. Like literally nobody does that. But he wanted it to be so detailed and so precise. He did every single storyboard. Also, the sets were like crazy insane, just lavish sets. Like they spent so much time on it. Like it was like, I mean, I'll show you. Also, one thing I really liked that they did is that they showed less of the alien, in fact, less than even the designers wanted them to show, because they knew that like chaos was more scary. Your imagination was scarier than what actually is there. So they would actually kind of use that uncertainty to kind of scare the audience. It was pretty good. Okay. So filming. So looking through the camera. That's how the director described it. So this is the actual spaceship that they're on for practically the entire movie, and this is insane. Like nobody does this. They built the entire set, like everything of the spaceship is in the set. And the director actually made the cast live in there for about a week before the movie because he wanted the actors to have a feeling of being like kind of claustrophobic in this real small space, kind of get the feel of living on the scene. Let's see. Also, I really liked how they used like the archetype of the monster in this movie. Like it's I'll tell you later. Also, you gave each of the actors a 10-page paper about who the character was, and like nobody also does that either. Like very detailed, like their background, where they're from, their family, what they did in high school, just like everything. Also, Sigourney talks a lot about how the director was just like, Sigourney is the main character actress. She talked a lot about how the director would just push her like psychologically, like so far, and you could really like tell that the emotions were just genuine in the movie. Okay. Oh yes, also one thing. On page 315 in your book, it talks about the use of violence in films, and it says that that some violence is just unnecessary, it's just kind of dumb violence. But in this movie, they used very particular violence to make the actors and the audience feel trapped. They wanted them to feel trapped because you're on this spaceship floating in space with this alien on it that you don't want there. So they kind of use that in the movie to make you feel like you need to get out. It makes you kind of grip your seat, you know? Okay, so this is so cool. They built this entire set. This is the alien spaceship they're on when they get the thing on their face. So this thing, it was completely done by hand, completely built. That's a person. Like they're that small. They did everything by hand. In fact, the director never thought that his sets were good enough. So he would use darkness and mist to kind of make it come alive and feel like creepy. And the producers the entire movie wanted to go cheaper and cheaper, wanted to do cheaper, more like a B movie. But the directors kept on pushing, no, go for A movie, more stuff, more of this. So the whole conflict is kind of funny while making the movie. So filming. So director Ripley, he's one of the main directors. He was described as living through the camera. He would walk around the spaceship, literally just with the camera, trying to find good angles. And he was very, very almost obsessed with the camera angles. They used photography in this movie. They were very, very focused on the angles, where to capture things, and that's one way that they made it a movie. Yeah. Okay, so Ash the Robot. So this is so funny to me. So like I said, they had to make everything by hand, and the materials they used were just really just unconventional. For this, so this is the original head that they made when they whacked the head. This is the head. And it was actually like a midget inside, a very short midget, in Ash's body, a fake body, and then they whacked the head off. Anyway, but from this scene up here, they used milk, they used caviar, glass marbles, and his head was coming through the table. But yeah, this is the original head, and it's actually really funny because this actor actually hates milk. And they were just pouring it out. He said it was the worst day of his life because he just hated milk. Okay, so this is the cool part. This is the actual alien. So this guy, I didn't want to put all the directors and stuff in there because that's just very long. But this guy's a very interesting character. I found him to be kind of funny. So this guy was the designer for all the aliens. He was from Switzerland. He was Swiss. And he really scared the crew. He was described as Dracula. He's very just obsessed and creepy with dark aliens and stuff like that. But I love the story of when the director met Giger, that's his name, Giger, in Switzerland. He went to Switzerland to meet him. And when he met him, Giger offered the director opium. And it's like they did that more in Europe than they did in America. So the director's like, why are you using opium? And he says, oh, why do you take opium? And the Giger says, because I'm afraid of my dreams. I have terrifying dreams of that, and I'd rather be high than see my dreams. And apparently he'd been dreaming about these weird shapes and creatures in his sleep. And those creatures he saw was actually the inspiration for Alien. So weird. Yeah. So he actually airbrushed all the sets himself. And to go to those sets, crazy sets, he actually airbrushed every single set, which took months. This guy was very, very particular and obsessed with his designs. So this is a painting that Giger did before he even heard about the movie, before the movie was a thing. This is from his dreams that he had, the kind of weird, creepy shapes and stuff. It's very disturbing image. So there's actually 4 stages of the alien. And so Giger designed 4 different stages. There's the egg, the face hugger, the stomach buster, and the xenomorph. And I did not name these things. That's so funny. Okay, so the first one is the egg. In the film, I don't know if I think y'all probably saw it in that little clip, but the egg opens up, and they use a hydraulic opening for that. And it was cool. So the actual egg was made out of a fiberglass jelly to make it kind of clear, but not completely clear, just so there's this one scene where you can kind of see the alien moving inside the egg. And what they did for this is the director laid on his back and put his hands like this with rubber gloves on. It was moving his hands inside the egg to make it look like the alien was moving. And you might have seen that one scene where it shows inside the alien is this gross mangy thing. That was actually cow stomach. They called it trike. Apparently they used it quite often in sci-fi movies. Cow stomach together. Also, there's this one, I don't think it showed in there, but there's this one scene where it shows the water droplets going upward rather than down, and kind of this creepy alien weird gravity film or feeling. And they actually filmed that one upside down, surprisingly. So this is the image of the director. You can kind of see him upside down with his hands inside the egg, and you see the light on the egg where you can see this alien moving inside. I thought that was pretty cool. And then this is that kind of gross picture of the cow stomach. That's the cow stomach. Okay, then the face hugger. So Giger loved this one. So he thought that one of the creepiest things to do was, or to design after, were humans, because when things look almost like us, it's more creepy than something that looks completely different. So he designed the figures you see after human hands, and he used a tube for the tail, and an actual shell. He did like a bajillion designs of that until he was happy. But they were made of rubber. And this is so cool. There's this one. In fact, I could go to it. There we go. So this is one scene that looks really gross. But it was he actually used actual clams and what's that fish called? Sturgeon? Yeah, it was sturgeon fish and caviar to make this gross like alien innard scene. And he actually built the anatomy of the alien. Like he took out like kidneys and livers and stuff from actual fish to build the anatomy of this alien. So, and it's so cool too when you put it in a movie. Like it looks very, very realistic, like an actual alien. Okay, the stomach buster. So this is one that is like the most popular scene in all the movies. It's so funny actually. For this scene in particular, the director did not tell any of the actors except for that guy, the one that's in pain, that the alien was going to come out of his chest. So they thought it was just a breakfast scene. So they're all sitting down and talking and stuff. All of a sudden, this guy looks like he's choking. So they're trying to hold him down and help him out. And all of a sudden, this alien comes out of his chest. Oh my gosh. Anyway, so it was actually inspired by the painter. The actual alien was inspired by this painter called Francis Bacon. I don't know if you know Francis Bacon. Yeah. So I love the words that Giger used to describe this stage of the alien. He calls it a giant worm living in a body. And he also described it as a headless chicken. And Giger actually hated worms and snakes, and so he used that fear to make the alien look more terrifying. So originally, with the first design, it looked like a dinosaur. It had like little arms and stuff. You'll see it. But then they cut off the legs and part of the head and the tail or whatever to make that alien. Yeah, shocked the crew, and yeah, they made for this one scene where they actually showed the alien out of the stomach. They used a fake stomach, obviously. And they also went down the street to a butcher shop and just got a bunch of organs and put it inside the fake chest. Okay, so this is the painting by Francis Bacon that inspired that stage of the alien. It's like this weird creature thing with teeth. Like I don't know how to describe it. It's creepy. And this is the painting done by Giger. That was that he did to draw the alien. And as you see, it kind of looks like a headless chicken or a dinosaur, sort of. Like it's kind of weird, bloody thing. But yeah, that's what he did. Okay, this is a fun one. So the xenomorph. This is the one they spent the most time on by far. For this one, they used all kinds of crazy stuff. They used the tubes from Roy. I can't pronounce it. Rolls-Royce, yeah. And actual vertebra from like real snakes. An actual human skull because they wanted it to look real. And the latex is kind of funny. They had a really big problem with the latex because they were trying to find latex that was thin enough, but was strong enough to hold. So the latex kept on breaking for the suit because they wanted to show the veins and all the creepy stuff in the alien. Everything was held together by a plasticine. So Giger had a really hard time with the head, because I think it shows a little bit of it on that clip, but there's a scene where like a mouth comes out of the alien, and he had the hardest time trying to get that mechanism to work, and so they called in this guy named Carl Rambaldi, and he was really popular during that time for like mechanics for film. Really, really like ingenious guy. So he came to help Giger make the head, and it did really, really good job. So yeah, they tried the mechanics dozens of times, didn't work. They kept on going and going. So this is kind of funny. The actual alien was an actual human being, like an actor who played the alien. It wasn't just mechanics. And the way they found the guy was like so random. It's hilarious. The director was actually at a bar, and at the bar, he saw this really, really tall, super skinny guy. And he just walked up to him and he's like, "Hey, you want to be in a movie?" And the guy's name was, I can't pronounce this, Balaji Badejo, I guess. and he was actually a graphic designer, and so he really appreciated all the art of the film. But yeah, I think I mentioned before, they showed the alien a lot less than the designers wanted because they spent so much time on it, but that created more of like a suspense to it. So this is one of the drawings of the mechanics for the head and how the you kind of see the mouth over there, how it kind of comes out and opens, the kind of machine kind of looks like that. So this is, the top photo you see is like the inside of the head. You can kind of see all the weird, creepy stuff. No, sorry, the bottom one's the inside of the head. So you can see the human skull, all the tubes for the Rolls Royce, and the snake vertebra and all that crazy stuff. And then they put the plasticine on top to kind of give it this weird, clear, alienish look. Okay, so this is them actually working with the actor. That's the actor. It's not mask with heads on, obviously. And they're kind of, that's the geeker over there working with the head. That's the director. But yeah, that's just them kind of working. You can see the tubes as well for the Rolls Royce. Okay, so this is the actor, and this poor guy. He had to wear this super tight latex like all day long, and with this really like musty head on. But yeah, that's him. He's very tall. His arms are very long, almost alien-like. But yeah, that's the actor that played the alien. See the conclusion. So yeah, so the entire movie features the struggle of man to survive, and like the feeling of being trapped, and them in a very chaotic place, trying to get into a place of order. And it has archetypes of the hero, of the monster, all kinds of stuff. You could really get into it. But yeah, this movie seriously changed the film industry. And sci-fi movies kind of went from like stupid, corny things to more intense, scary, exciting things. More A movies, like the first sci-fi A movie ever made. But yeah, that's it. Any questions?